Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hey Wolves fans, welcome in. It is Chris with you for some reaction from this weekend's absolute chaos. I wish there are any of the other team were with me today to discuss this in more and have a bit more back and forth, but I think everyone is just collapsing and in absolute carnage and dire straits from everything that's gone on. Of course, we suffered yet another defeat at the hands of Ipswich, and I hate to say it, people. I hate to say it, but I was right. In our pre-match podcast on Friday, I did predict that we would lose. It hurt me to do so. It absolutely hurt me to do so, but the stars were aligned. It was written in the wind. Written in the wind? Written in the sand? What's the phrase? Who cares? It was written, and it came to pass. And so we once again fall to another defeat at the hands of Ipswich. I mean, bless them. They played as a team. I mean, we'll get into the other headlines in a second, but just a quick comment that fair play to Ipswich. I think they play as a team. They showed what it is to be a team and play as one. And we have some outstanding individuals, but it's not working as a team. And we saw absolute carnage and pandemonium again at the end of the game. And if it wasn't a defeat, then maybe just 2 games on the trot that have ended in absolute, just horrendous displays of behaviour on the pitch. Maybe that's the tipping point. Maybe that's the thing that is just, it's tarnishing Wolves at the moment, because all the media is turning not just about our form, but it's now discussing the behaviour of the players and the behaviour of the team, and that probably had an impact in everything that's gone on. And then we delayed recording last night immediately after the game, thinking we'll wait and see if there's any more info comes out about the game itself, the post-match comments, or anything else that happens. And lo and behold, this morning, the news comes out that Gary Oneil has been let go by Wolverhampton Wanderers. I don't want to say there's many people out there. Will and Nathan are probably one of them who right now are going, rejoice. On the one hand, yes, rejoice. I feel like I'm not the type of person to say rejoice, because at the end of the day, I wanted the best for our club, and I wanted nothing more than to see the team successful under Gary Oneil, because that would mean we'd be higher up the table and all would be well. So it's a shame it's had to come to this, but I'm going to say relieved more than rejoicing, because obviously we know there is still an absolute mountain to climb ahead of us, but something had to change. And at this point, the only foreseeable change that could be made being that in this short time frame mid-season, we are not going to see a change to the board, and we're not going to see a change to anything else in the way the club is run. So it has to be the manager at this point. I mean, and we've debated it and we've seen it, and I've spoken about, even I've come full circle on this podcast recently discussing the reasons why I was now in the Oneil out camp. The fact that even if he has been, like previous managers seem to be, let down by the lack of money being put into signings, it doesn't relieve him of the faults made in terms of his tactical decisions, his substitutions, the diabolical set-piece situation, which seems to have worsened, not got better, since we got rid of the set-piece coach, and the lack of ability to change things when they are going wrong, the lack of ability to have the strength to drop players that are not performing, the indecision in the formation at the back, the inconsistency, the now beginning to throw players under the bus, the excuses that we've heard in not having people that have played many Premier League games earlier in a press conference a few weeks ago, when we all know that's not true. And then discussing, and most recently in highlights at a match of the day, the point that he was starting to throw the team under the bus. It was no longer we, it was, me and them, saying that he's never had such a hard job to coach such a group of players. And really, it is untenable. I mean, it was untenable a long time ago, but there was no mistake in my mind that the decision had to be made. And it's just a shame it's come so late. We all feel that it should have, everyone out there, the public, you and me, most fans out there feel that this should have been made a long time ago. And now we have become a very unattractive proposition for all the potential managers that they have been talking to in the background during this whole vote of confidence strangeness that we have seen during the week. And if I sound out of breath, it's because I'm ranting, people, and I'm just frustrated. I'm both relieved and frustrated at the state of things and where we are. The fact that I've predicted a loss against my own team, which I have never done before. But I mean, it's just, we all saw when it was 1-1 and Ipswich get the corner in the dying seconds of the game. I am there saying it's going to be a goal. We all knew it. Everyone knew it. You could see it happening because we are so bad at them and we leave everyone unmarked. And the same thing happens again. And it's not coincidence at this point. And I don't care how many times they say we are working on it on the training ground. Clearly, you are not working on it well enough because nothing has changed. And the disruption and the behavior means that this group of players clearly do not respect him as a disciplinarian, I'm going to say at this point, because that is a part of man management, right? You can be their buddy at times. You can be not a buddy. You can be an ear to talk to. You can be a shoulder, an arm on the shoulder of people when they need that support. But you have to, as a manager, be able to find the dividing line to discipline, enforce, and show leadership when necessary. And it seems from what we've been seeing and the carnage we have been seeing that is not the case. And I know it's a different industry, but there's principles of management that carry across in all industries. And I, like many of you guys out there, have been a manager in different industries in my time. And you can just see that it looks like a group of people that he's got too close to them. And they may like him, because they all speak about liking him. But liking him is not respecting him as a leader. And clearly at times he has not shown the bottle to bench people that needed to be benched. Lamina being one of them, and I've made this point again and again, that's been points. We've seen his form drop. He finally, after his outburst against Bowen, Lamina, at the end of the West Ham game, almost gave him the excuse to strip him of the captaincy and finally make some kind of change there. But earlier in the season, there's periods where Lamina should have been dropped and should not be playing because his performance has been subpar and his emotion, he hasn't emotionally been able to cope with the burden of being captain, especially during this intense, weird period that we're going through with all these losses and the clear confusion in the camp. And I firmly believe it's done now. It's done. But this should have happened a long time ago. And I firmly believe that this is the right choice because all the hallmarks we are seeing are of a manager who can't manage. He can coach in some form, but not manage effectively at this point in time. Not a Premier League club, not to this level. He will hopefully go away and learn his trade, more steadily in a lower league, or maybe just be an assistant coach or whatever it is, because, there's elements that are there. And by all means, he is a very likable person, but it needs a different approach to lead people in this way and to have the respect that they are not going to have these kind of outbursts when the pressure is on. On a side note, the only other things I kind of want to say on the game at this point, because to be honest, I want to forget it, let's just overall say, poor first half, really not impressive, an atrocious goal to concede for the first one. It was just like I was watching some kind of comedy show, the way the amount of defenders back blocking after Delap manages to just run single-handedly and manhandle his way into the box, and then still the ball is just allowed to go from one Ipswich player to another. Doc makes one block on the line, but then no one pushes out quick enough to kind of block the next shot. And then Totti clears it into Doc, which then rebounds into the net. It was comical. If I wasn't supporting them, I would be laughing at them because it was that atrocious. And I don't think you'll see another goal like that anywhere all season because it was diabolical, quite frankly. Second half, we see some people come on who we've been saying for a while want to play, have looked good when they've come on, and are not getting enough chances. And I'm going to speak mainly here for me personally. And when the other guys come in one of the pods later in the week, they may have some separate thoughts. But for me personally, Doyle and Gedge, they need to be playing more. And I hope whoever comes in, and we'll get onto that in a second, watches back some, obviously, presumably I would if I was coming and watching back some of the recent games and looks at stuff. Doyle came on yesterday and looked like someone that wanted to take the game to Ipswich, take command, and was direct and looking, as always, he wants to get the ball forward to people. He wants to be quick and aggressive. So many times we are slow and passing it around and just fannying about and going backwards. And he's a forward-thinking player. Not necessarily himself, because he's not quick on the ball. He's not a runner. That's not his game. But as we've said before, not to that caliber, but in that Neves mold of wants to sit deep and splay the ball out. And he's got a beautiful range of passing. You know, yes, he's young and he's still a bit raw at times, but I think he needs to be playing more. And he showed it yesterday, because at this point in the season, the state we are in, we need calm heads. We need people that are going to be direct and understand the situation and want to play, want to do it, and want to fight. And he's shown it. He showed it against Brighton when he came on. And yes, there's an element of looking what he did there. But that moment late in the game against Brighton, when he's 1-on-4, intercepts the ball, immediately plays it forward on the counter that leads to a goal. He makes impactful decisions. He takes a chance. He makes a choice. And then he's quick. He doesn't delay. He looks up and he plays it forward. And we need that. We need that in the game. The rest of the midfielders are too similar. They can't all keep playing together. It's not right. Gedge, again, comes on. He's seen it earlier in the season when he's coming on for like 10, 15 minutes, but he gets assists, he gets goals. He's looking sharp. I know he's not as strong defensively, but he looks like, at the moment, because it's Cunha and Strand Larsen up front, that third spot keeps flicking around. Gedge has shown it again that he deserves a chance to maybe get more starts there. Whether he goes later this season in January or the summer, I don't care. Right now, I want people that can have an impact in the game. And he's having an impact in the game, and he did it again. So those are my quick thoughts on that. Cunha, oh my gosh, Cunha. Like, I need to take a breath, people. I need to take a breath before I talk about Cunha. And so in that breath, I'd say I'll take a breath. I'm going to read something to you. So it's not really taking a breath, but I'll remind everyone that here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. All right, so Cunha. My word. The biggest thing, again, that we've seen a few times in the last 2-3 games is he seems to feel like it's upon him, for better or worse, to single-handedly save the game. And I get that he is capable. But once again, running into dead ends, just running, it's all right. Yeah, get past 1 or 2 people. But if someone else ahead of you has a better position, it's not always on you to hold the ball and try and keep running past the entire team without passing it to someone who could get a shot off or an assist. But no, so many times he ran into dead ends and then turns around and goes backwards trying to keep it and then work it to go around someone else, and ends up, he gave the ball away several times by consistently holding onto the ball for too long and then just ending up getting barged off the ball because he's running into dead ends. It's not, I get it. Again, he's emotional and he is wanting to prove himself. Maybe whether it's selling himself because he's had enough, or whether it's because he feels like no one else is doing it, whatever. He just needs to stop and start realizing that they need to be a team. They are currently playing as individuals, and he is a prime example of that. Too many people not playing as a team. Doyle, trying to play as a team member, wants to pass it immediately to someone who can help benefit the team. Cunha at the moment is playing like a superstar, but he's playing like a solo superstar. He's holding onto the ball too long, and it is winding me up. It is driving me into the ground, and it's so frustrating. I love him. Don't get me wrong. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I think he is fantastic, and he has been fantastic for us. But whatever's going on right now, and hopefully with whatever shift is coming, we get some changes, but he needs to share the ball. Occasionally, you can't all do it yourself. In any walk of life, you need to trust the people around you. And right now, it feels like he doesn't trust the people around him. My gosh. Where do we go from here, guys? I mean, there's so many... let's focus for a minute on the news since then. So, well, we've mentioned the conceding goal right at the start, the goal that turned it all around, the losing to the set piece in the dying seconds of the game, which we could just see coming. You could see it happen the moment Totti headed that ball out for a corner kick. Why he did that, I do not know. But we just knew it was a goal. And it was terrible. But then we get the news this morning, Gary Oneil is finally out. There's that sense of relief, and finally, it's about time. Should have been done ages ago. And yes, I mean ages ago. But the questions are now, of course, what's happening? Who's going to replace what's going on? And supposedly, they will have someone in place for the game against Leicester. Now, there's been several, obviously, rumours of different managers in the recent days, but in the last 24 hours, the front runner taking the lead is Vítor Pereira. Pereira? I'm pronouncing that wrong, but Vítor Pereira, I'm going to say. Currently the Al-Shabaab manager in Saudi Arabia, and they are apparently in talks with them, and there is a buyout clause to get them out of there, around £800,000, €1 million or so, which apparently is believed not to be an issue. Wolves are willing to pay if the agreements can be made. And so it's an interesting signing. It's obviously not their first choice, because all accounts are in recent weeks, we've heard they've spoken to the likes of David Moyes, who've turned them down, and some of these other names that have been bandied around. So not a first choice. There is credentials on his CV, some good stuff, but some of it is from quite long ago. 56-year-old Portuguese manager, won 2 league titles with Porto in 2012 and 2013, and the Greek Super League with Olympiacos in 2015. And then he's moved around a lot. So he's not necessarily a long-term guy, because more recently his successes have mostly been in the past, in the earlier part of his career, and now it's kind of shifting around, and most recently in Saudi Arabia. So I don't know, obviously, that much about him. I am not someone that follows a lot of European or other leagues around the world. Currently, Al-Shabaab, he's been in charge there since February, finishing 8th in the Saudi Pro League last season. They currently sit 6th after 7 wins from 13 games. He's always wants to play in the manage in the Premier League. Has been up for various jobs before, including at the likes of Everton and Chelsea, but has never got the opportunity, and has been always wants to do it. So that they are someone that is up for potentially the challenge. Are they the right man for the job? Or is it that they are the only man for the job? That remains to be seen. But they have won stuff. They have done stuff, which is more than you can say. Greatest, for whatever you think of Gary Oneil has had what? This was his second managerial job, and the first one was only a year, less than that even. And so there's not, as a manager, not much experience. This guy, however you look, whether the successes are further away or more recent, there is management experience there all around the world, and has won titles in different countries. So there is at least some heritage there, and potentially some respect to be garnered, because they have been there and done it at different leagues around the world. I believe also previously managed João Gomez in South America at one point as well. So potentially a reunion there. So will that come to pass? Will they be announced in the next 24 hours, 48 hours? I guess we will find out. But whoever it is, whether it's this person or whether it's someone else, supposedly the decision will be made or the announcement will be made in the next few days. There will be someone in the dugout, by all accounts, for the Leicester game. But obviously, there is not much time to do anything for that besides pick a lineup and try and instill some discipline, because we cannot be the laughing stock that we are currently being. We cannot have people just causing fights at the end of every game. We need structure. We need someone who's going to come in and put some discipline in the dugout, in the dressing room, and just batten down the hatches. And we can score goals. We've seen it. We just need someone who can shore up the defense. And I get that until the window comes, that they've just got to work with what they would have. But I am adamant this team has the capability to at least not be conceding like we are conceding. It's not rocket science. We've spoken about it all season. There's some basic principles that are just being missed. It's schoolboy errors in many ways, and it needs to be sorted out. Hopefully, between that and just playing people in their right positions. I've had enough of Bellegarde. I don't understand what his role, what his position is. I don't understand. Like, if you had a blank tactic sheet and he was the first name on it, I don't know where you would put them. I don't know what Bellegarde's role is. Someone explain it to me. But I don't think it's wherever he's playing right now. And then under Gary Oneil, we've seen João Gomes played as a winger. We've seen Lamina played as a centre-back. We've seen people all over the place, but never really where they're supposed to be. It's not a square peg in round holes things. It shouldn't be complicated. Just put people where they are best at playing and work in that way. How hard is it? At this point, I feel like I could win a couple more games than Gary Oneil has managed as manager, and I'm sure you all pretty much feel the same. I'm sure Nathan and Will feel the same. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I am just glad we've had the change. I'm really glad. I'm glad right now that we've got something happening. I suppose that's a glimmer of light, because something is better than nothing, because we were sitting on nothing. And now at least something is happening. I mean, great, I guess. And I've got one more thing to discuss after my last reminder, and we've got so much to talk about this week. But and I'm sure when we get together with the team, it's going to be a lot of interesting back and forth and dissection. But I just wanted to make sure we get something out to you, even if I'm solo, just to rant and rave a little bit, to update on some of the things that you're all reading in social media, because I can't not talk. But I will just remind everyone, this podcast, that was a deep breath. Did you hear that one? This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day. Now, in the start area of the show, when I was summing up some of the stuff from the game itself, we didn't mention the stuff from before the game, which happened, I think was announced after our last episode, which was the captaincy being shifted. I did touch on it briefly in the midst of that rant about indecision from Oneil. But Lamina being stripped of the captaincy, I think was valid. I think he's proven throughout the season he is not captain material. Lots of people thought, in spirit he was end of last season. I don't think anyone really argued with him becoming the captain in the summer when it was announced, because he was very much the fan favourite, and his actions spoke louder than words. However, we've seen early on in the season, not even that far into the season, crying on the pitch at the end of the games, shaking his head, walking around looking like the world is going to end, and fighting with people, scuffling with people, causing upset, and just looking hanging his head and waving his arms. And I was so fed up at the weekend against Ipswich, even when it was just we were 1-0 down early in the game, and he's wandering around, and every time he misses a pass, or he passes it off and the next person doesn't do something great, like he plays in someone that misses, or someone fails a tackle, or there's a shot on goal, whatever, anything, absolutely anything. He's just walking away, shaking his head and looking exasperated at everything, but not more. It was like it's so dramatic and over the top, like the world is ending, and I get it, because in some ways it is, because we are in such a dire place. But it's not a time for that. It's a time for the captain and the players to be calm and level-headed, or you are not going to get out of this mess. Which is why I mentioned the likes of Doyle, of Gedge, believe it or not, because I think he's actually quite a calm player. People go on about the fact he doesn't celebrate much or he doesn't do much, but I think he's generally just that kind of guy. And I think in some ways that's okay, especially at this time, because we need people who aren't going to get emotional. We've got too much emotion, and we need the people with the level heads to come in. And once he's fit again, for me, that includes the likes of Sarabia, because again, he's experienced and he's got the maturity to cope with this situation. So, yeah, just my 2 cents worth on the whole captain thing. And I will say, though, the replacement captain, Semedo, I know that, again, he's not shone himself in glory this last game, although, again, people playing out of position, it doesn't really help the factor at all. So I'm not necessarily putting that all on him. But I think generally there as a captain, I think from the squad available at this point in time under Oneil, were the main starting senior players that you would look at for captaincy. I think Semedo is a good choice. Again, one of the more senior players of the squad in terms of age, been around, played at high-level clubs like Barcelona, has got a level of maturity, and you never see him kind of get too carried away or emotional, at least, lash out clearly. And professional player of the season last year, one of the best one-on-one defenders. Again, I know not taking the Ipswich game into account, but overall a solid player, and I think is a fine reasonably fine choice as captain. I would argue, and I said it in our WhatsApp group with the team as well, that if he was not on the bench as much and was more of a starter, I would even have considered giving Doc a captaincy. Purely, again, because he just, being of his age, if you take into account his previous time with Wolves, he's been with us for over 10 years, on and off. He knows the club inside out, understands what it means, and will give everything, even if he's not at his best. And so I think, again, that's just an element that you want in a captain, someone that understands the club throughout and will always give their all. But given that under Oneil, at least, he's like in and out and mainly on the bench, I get why it's not viable. But I'm just throwing that out there. Those are some thoughts. Anyway, team, I'm going to sign off for now, because otherwise I will literally rant at you all night long. But I hope you enjoyed some of these thoughts. I hope you put up with my ranting. And let's hope by the time you next hear us, we will have some news on who the manager will be. But as I say, by all accounts, it could be that by the time the next episode comes out, or the one after that, we could hear that Vítor Pereira is the new Wolves manager. And if it's someone else, well, I don't know. But surely, there's got to be... No, I don't. I can't. Let's just remember the old catchphrase. Out of darkness cometh light. And I really hope it's true.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.